I am Marwan Cameron, and this is the Conduit. All right, y'all, it is 5:25. I know we are late for Deborah's Corner, but the last podcast went a little long. I'm just saying, it went a little long, but it was so good, so important, critical, crucial, and all kinds of other things that start with C. But we're here now. We're here now, which is what's important. But unfortunately, Miss Deborah is not. Miss Deborah had a medical appointment, so she will not appear tonight. So I will be doing this show solo. There's some things that I wanted to talk about in the spirit of the things that Deborah talks about. So I figured this would be a good time to do that. I don't have to do 5 podcasts today. I think I deserve some Susie's Kitchen or something else after all this. A lot of fun, good work. I love bringing information and connecting people together. Yeah, man, it's round 4, Rob. It's round 4. Fading fast. He's on the ropes. But so vital. And a learning experience for myself. You know, I learned a lot from this morning's podcast with the Kitsap Regional Library. That was awesome. I had no idea that they did so much at the library. So I hope folks take advantage of that for their children, for themselves. If you're an aspiring entrepreneur, that's some good stuff there. And so shout out to Karina and Priya from Kitsap Regional Library. And then having Brandon on, you know, to talk about Tone's fitness and to discuss, and I'm glad that the conversation went there, his trials and tribulations with entrepreneurship. And as I said before, so many people come in, you know, thinking that they're going to start a business, and they don't realize how many elements they're missing, right? And again, I believe it is somewhere north of 60% of all businesses failing within the first year, actually maybe higher. Uh, I mean, that's a lot. And so all that blood, sweat, and tears, all the initial investment, all that time, you know, the folks as Brandon was saying, the naysayers that are like, why are you doing this? You're stupid. You should do something else with your money. I was told the same thing for G2. Um, but what I would say is, you know, I know that we have impacted hundreds, if not thousands of lives through our 3.5 years. Well, 3 3/4 now. Well, I mean, we'll be 4 in February. In our 4 years of life that I don't know how you put a dollar amount on humanity. And sure, could I do other things with my life? Yeah, I could. Um, I could, you know, I really could. You know, I have a timeshare. I could travel. I could do all kinds of fun things, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just, you know, it's just not how I'm built. You know, I've had many of the experiences that I've wanted to have in life, and it's just not part of my self actualization. You know, that's not what motivates me. That's not what gets me up in the morning. That's not what helps me go to sleep at night. Um, you know, this work is, and so that's it. I have no regrets for it. You know, I wish I could make G2 could have a bigger impact. You know, I wish that we can reduce or end the suffering that people go through. I wish we can build their self-esteem and you know, help them on their self-sufficiency journey. Help them through Maslow's hierarchy from the basic needs of food, shelter, to self actualization so they can get into a position where they can do what they want to do that makes them feel fulfilled as people. And, honestly, it's not just low income folks experiencing homelessness or food insecurity. It's not just people that are uh, fighting drug or alcohol addiction. It's the quote unquote regular folks, and I use that facetiously only because what the hell is regular folk? But so many of us are struggling, and many of us suffer in silence, and we don't know how to heal. So we exist, we survive. I had a long conversation. Shout out to Shaylin. I think Shaylin and I talked for about 3.5 hours yesterday. And so, for those of you that don't know, Shaylin and I have known each other since our teenage years. We went to the same junior high and high school. Um, and so we'll catch up every now and then and just talk about a lot of things, talk about relationships, talk about trying to help folks. And, our conversation spans all kinds of stuff. So it's always a good conversation. But it is tough, right? We are back to losing 1,000 people per day from COVID. And I don't know if you remember when CNN and all the other major news companies used to have that ticker, right? 400,000 dead, 1,000 people, 800 people dying every day, 825 dying every day, 900 dying every, and it got to 1,000. It's like, holy crap, man, there's 1,000 people per day dying. How many days are in a year? Well, 365. Well, how much is that? 365,000 people? That's a lot of people. How big is the United States? Oh, 340 or whatever million. Hmm. But what does that really mean? We have such COVID fatigue. And if we're not the ones that are affected by it, or if we're not affected by it, like, oh, I lost my business, I couldn't pay my rent, whatever the case may be. But if you lost your mother or your father or whoever was the breadwinner that paid the rent, that paid the mortgage, that kept food on the table, that person is gone. And you don't have a lot of extended family. I mean, just the trauma alone, right? What do you do? And I just think it's got to be so tremendously hard to for people to go through such tragedy. Their house burned down, some other natural disaster. You know, they're impacted by COVID. They lose their business. They lose their house. They lose a family member. While the rest of the world, it appears, just wants to go to the Seahawks game or to the concert or, you know, are fighting to not have to protect their neighbor. It's like, damn, no one cares. They really don't give a damn about us at all. And I could feel Brandon's loneliness when he was speaking about trying to start a company and trying to start a business and what that's like, especially when, all the weight is on your shoulders. Even if you have help, right? You take uh, a level of responsibility, right? And everyone does. If you've got a stake in the organization, you've got weight on your shoulders. And it's heavy and it's stressful, right? You don't just let you down, you let the company down, you let all the people that are involved with the company down, and you let all the people that you serve down. That's a heavy cross to bear. And then everybody's watching you and waiting for you to make a mistake or fail, as Brandon said. Very tangible conversation today. Very tangible conversation. And you watch so many people in society prioritize things that just seem frivolous and not important. And, it's great that, stuff is fun, but damn, man, life is hard for so many. And many of us are one small step, one small misstep, one small situation from finding ourselves food insecure, homeless, severe health issue, whatever the case may be. And you try to maintain, sustain, exercise resilience, emotional intelligence, compassion, patience. You keep getting up and putting one foot in front of the other. You say and do all the things, or positive words of affirmation, even the some that aren't so positive. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps and you try, and you don't always succeed. And it seems like, damn, every time I try, something or someone knocks me down. A whole bunch knocks me down. And that's what Brandon was talking about today, right? And when it gets that hard and you feel so alone or misunderstood, like, why the hell am I even doing this? And we didn't talk about it. We're friends on Facebook, but he had wrote on Facebook, about thinking about going back to New York. This was yesterday, right? And like you said, every day I want to quit. What a space to have to rebuild yourself every day, to build yourself up every day. Can I get one day? Can I get a week? Can I get a month? Can I get a year? Can I have a year? Forget the 10 years of bad luck if you break some glass. I'm just having a bad life. This is tough. This is hard. And then people say, "Oh, here's the world's smallest violin. Oh, woe's me." But everyone's experience is their experience. And we don't know what people are going through. And we have these expectations for each other, regardless of what they may be doing or what they may be going through, whatever their struggles are. Culturally, when we say, "Hey, how you doing?" we actually don't mean that. We're not trying to have a conversation with you about how you're actually doing. We want to hear, "Oh, I'm fine," and then move on, right? "Hey, how you doing?" "I'm blessed and highly favored," right? Just comes right off. I don't even think about it. It's an auto response. Now, it's one that's built. Because my hope is that I say that now because I hope that it can serve as a reflection, because I know that people are going through their own trauma, their own issues. And when they ask me, "How am I doing?" and I say, "I'm blessed and I'm highly favored," I hope that could be a reflection for them. And they say, "Huh? Blessed and highly favored? Well, I guess I'm blessed too. Yeah, yeah, okay." And maybe they can take that and remember that they are loved. Remember that they are worthy, even when they don't feel like it, even when the world is telling them that they're not, that they are. Some people don't even like to be told that you love them because it's so hard for them to hear it. They don't believe it. They don't want to accept it. They don't know what to do with it. "I love you." I actually don't like hearing that because I feel like it's so false, right? I don't like hearing "I'm sorry." What they say, "If you were sorry, then you wouldn't have done it in the first place." Well, no, that's not actually true, but you know, seems like you should be a little bit more self-aware. And if you knew me, then you would try not to hurt me in that way, especially when this was pretty intentional, right? Unintentional issues, okay, apologize, we can move forward. Try to do better. But oftentimes we're hurting each other intentionally. So hard. We're not even talking about a pandemic. We're not even talking about living in poverty. We're not even talking about living with health issues. Oh, you got all three? Oh, good luck with that. So, what can we do? When you think about what G2 is, gather together, grow together, family. Family is rough as hell. Family fights. They do say that only the people closest to you are the ones that can hurt you, right? Because what do I care about a stranger that I don't know? Family. It's rough. It's ugly. It's painful. And yeah, there might be a black sheep, or there may be just that one that you're going to love from a distance, a real long, long distance. But an understanding and not taking on things that aren't ours to take. I used an analogy several months back when we think of burdens, and there's all these garbage bags of burdens in front of you. And sometimes we pick these bags up because we're just so used to carrying burdens. And we'll fight if someone tries to take that burden from us. No, no, I got to hold this burden. Well, why? Well, I can't think about that right now, but I got to hold this. This is mine to hold. Let it go. Why are you holding on to it? That burden is probably not even yours. Let it go. Allow yourself to heal. You got enough garbage bags of burdens in your life to last you your lifetime and then some. Let go of the ones that you don't need to hold. Do some stock in your life. Don't wait for New Year's. The holidays are going to be hard. So many of us have lost loved ones, and you're in reflection, and the people that we love may not be in pain any longer, and you know that they're in a better place, but you still miss them. It still hurts. So maybe your first Thanksgiving, it may be your first Christmas, your first New Year's, and those memories just flood and hit you. What's going to be like for those that have lost family members due to COVID? For those that were in a situation where they were secure with their family and now they find themselves with housing insecurity, or they find themselves homeless and blaming themselves for the situation that they're in. And it may actually be true. You may be the order of your own demise. But they say, no one can be tougher on you than yourself. Sometimes that's true. Not always. Gotta be accountable for that to happen. But whether it was your doing or out of your control, or you contributed a little bit, you gotta let it go. You have to look forward. You have to rebuild. You have to take the different path. You have to stand up again. You have to ask for help. You have to become interdependent. You have to break those codependencies. You have to turn away, as Brandon was saying, from toxic relationships. And that can be hard. Misery loves company. I know this. The devil, you know. We have all these phraseologies. And it makes you feel even lonelier. Because at least I have that. This situation here is so toxic and I know I need to go, but there's 10 minutes, there's 2 hours, we watch a movie and it's cool. And I'm down bad most times, but I ain't down bad by myself. And so you stay. And you tell yourself, well, I deserve it. I did this to myself, so I should just have to deal with it. And we say all kinds of things to keep us stuck in the places that we're at, either physically or mentally or emotionally. Right? Let your burden go. Let some of them go. Whatever you've done, whatever the mistake that was made, no matter how deep that hole is that you dug, it's time to climb back out. But when we climb out of a ditch, we don't go back down to the bottom of the ditch and then start throwing the dirt back where it was. So just continue to make your path. Understand that path is never going to go as fast as you want it to go. It may have taken you 2, 3, 4 years to put yourself in the situation that you find yourself in now. And it may take you 2, 3, 4, 5, may take double the time to get out of that situation, just to get back to zero. And then for you to move on from there. The thing is you're worth it. You deserve love. You are worthy of love. You are loved. Allow yourself to be loved. Connect with people. Get involved, get engaged, and you'll find who that is. It's like trying on shoes. Oh, those they feel look good, but they're a little tight on the sides. Oh, these are good, but my toes, these ones are all right. Keep trying them on. You'll learn so much about people, you'll learn so much about yourself that when you do find that group, when you do find those people, you'll be home. You deserve it. You deserve it. Advocate for yourself. Dr. Yaw and Dante were on from Fred Hutchin Cancer Center. Appreciate them coming on. UW physician. And it's a big conversation, right? You've got to ask for help. And there's so many reasons why we don't. Pride, shame, guilt, shouldn't have to. I hear that a lot. I shouldn't have to do this. I shouldn't be in this situation. I'm this old. I have this experience. I grew up here. I grew up there. It shouldn't be like this. Right now it is. Can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, but what we can do is clean up the toothpaste. Find out if we can use the good parts and move forward. It takes a lot of strength, it takes a lot of bravery, it takes a lot of faith, perseverance, resiliency. That's where the words matter. I tell folks all the time living a quote unquote good life is boring because it's repetition. It's doing the same thing consistently. Habits, good habits. So easy for us to do the bad thing or the wrong things consistently. Those are habits too. But it's about building those positive habits. Absolutely. And after you've done it over time consistently, what that habit building does for you is when crisis comes, you're more resilient from turning back to not being able to use the tools that you've learned and you've practiced. That's when you need it. Life is easy. You're playing on easy mode when everything is going well. It's when you're dealing with adversity, stress, things that are in and outside of your locus of control. That's when you have to lean on that resiliency. That's when you have to lean on those habits. Man, I'm going through. I might have even messed up, but you know what? I'm going to get back up. Day one, day two, day three. And I'm going to analyze it. Why did this happen? Could I have controlled the situation that I found myself in? If I couldn't, why did I react the way that I did? How could I have done this different? If it were to happen again, what would I do? What would I say? How would I act? Who would I reach out to? That's the gains. That's the growth. So often, I tell you, I do so much research for conversations that we have and trying to stay in the know, trying to understand different generations from Zennials and Millennials and Gen Xers and baby boomers and how do they tick? What are their motivations? And it's tough, right? Everyone processes information in different ways. And how can I best help them to help themselves? Was one of the things I was talking to Shaylin about yesterday. I feel like I see the matrix code in people. I see their potential. I see what they can be for the parts of the code that I can see, because even I can't see what they truly could become. My imagination isn't that vast. But how do I get them to see it? How do I get them to bet on themselves, to not give up on themselves? Sometimes it's easy to say, I'm sorry. Oh, I apologize. I messed up. I'm sorry. Do you apologize to yourself? Do you say, I'm sorry to yourself? Do you forgive yourself? It'll be really powerful if you do. Because if you can and you do, then that means you'll stop punishing yourself. Are you punishing yourself today? How are you punishing yourself? Could be drinking, could be smoking. I mean, legal and illegal things, right? Cigarettes, marijuana, whatever. If you're using it as escapism, could it be eating? Could you be denying yourself things that make you happy because you feel like you don't deserve to be happy? You don't deserve to feel good? I don't think that works. And while the journey may be hard and there's a lot that you need to fix, it doesn't all have to be hard. It doesn't all have to be doom and gloom. It doesn't all have to be blood, sweat, and tears all the time. You can find the moments to laugh and to smile and to have love and have perspective, grace and patience. You do deserve it. And what's so interesting is that's not even what I came on to talk about. But what I'll say is funny story about my dad. And I used to be a bricklayer, and I did not want to be my dad. I was angry at him. So he's a teacher, he's a preacher. Yep, ain't no way in hell I'm doing any of them things. I will shovel dung before I do that. It might not be that serious, but defiant, obstinate, jackass, all of those things are appropriate. My dad would say, "Oh, son, be a good teacher. Oh, son, you never know. I could, the Lord, calls you. I can see it. I see it. Oh, Dad, you don't know what you're talking about. You old, antiquated. That's not how things are now. You have no idea." Well, I ended up teaching. He was right. Still defiant. Like I ain't preaching. I think I'd have a different kind of church, though. My church might scare most Christians. Go and get the cane. That might be the basis of the church right there. Go and get the cane. But I say all that to say, you will hear uh, clergy, ministers, and pastors say that, you know, they were told that this is what they were supposed to talk about, and that's how I felt. So I think it does tie in to what I want to show you. Every Monday, we are on the Conduit with KCR and the Bremerton Housing Authority. And what we are facing is the ever growing epidemic of homelessness in this country. And we're just trying to figure out figure it out here. And as I shared yesterday, there's a Salvation Army is on shutdown because of a COVID scare, so they can't take any new people in. The rescue mission is on a wait list, and we're transporting people throughout the town to different motels, and many of those are full. And it's only November 16th. The moratorium on eviction is over. And while KCR and Bremerton Housing Authority are doing everything that they can as fast as they can, it is not enough. KMH is building, single person units up there on Kitsap Way. I think 70, 74, 76 units. Right? That's great, but it's not going to be enough. I talked with Brandon about how jobs are being outsourced and automation actually being outsourced now. Teachers are being outsourced from the Philippines. I was watching a special on that the other day. Technology, automation, robotics, life cycle of careers and jobs. Just don't need it. You need a bagger? Hell, you got self checkout. We know how frustrating it is when we go to the grocery store or Walmart or somewhere else and there's 40 check stands, but there's only one or two open. There's about 90 people in each line. And it seems like there's like 4 or 5 groups of employees just standing over in the corner, like, would you get on the register, please, and cut this line down? You're seeing more and more self checkout. So, what are you going to do? The jobs and the careers that you have aren't livable wages. Folks are fighting for $15 an hour, but that's laughable. $20 an hour ain't enough. You work about 2,080 hours per year if you're full time, assuming you don't miss a day of work. Even at $20 an hour, that's 40 grand a year. It ain't enough. Multiply that by zero point 0.8 to get out your FICA and your Social Security and all that. You're bringing home about 32. Got a bunch of tax breaks. Maybe you bring 30, 30. I don't know, if you get 36, maybe 33, 34 if you're lucky. If your rent's 1,500 times 12, well, I mean, what are we looking at here? $18,000 out of your 40? Almost half went to rent. Not to mention, again, well, you had to pay the taxes, so you really only have 34, 36 if you're lucky. You got $18,000 left to make it for the entire year. Home ownership, what you talking about? I can't afford this one bedroom. I can't afford this studio. You want me to go to work and go to school? And school costs more? And there's no guarantee for a job? I'm hearing about all these folks with master's degrees working at Starbucks. What? I need to work 60 hours a week at $20 an hour. Will that do it? Why don't you just move? With what money? I can't make it here. How the hell am I gonna make it there? What cost of living is this over there? Go down south. It's cheaper down there. How am I supposed to get down south? Or do I just hop on a bus or do whatever, leave all what little things I have accumulated and go down to the rescue mission of the Salvation Army in Alabama and try to figure it out from there? Folks make it seem so easy. The scary thing is here in Kitsap County, we're a small county. We're 330,000. We see homelessness. We don't see it as much as we see in the bigger cities. I will say fair use. But I was looking at this the other day and it's just like, oh my God.
Oakland, California sure does have a homeless problem. Driving around town, there's homeless encampments all over the place. They're on the sides of the roads and dirt lots. There's long stretches of them on sidewalks. Some are in tents, some are in RVs, some are actual encampments with makeshift structures where hundreds of people gather in communities. It's estimated there's about 5,000 homeless individuals throughout the city of Oakland, but nobody really knows the exact.
First off, I'm playing this at a faster rate. So he's in a car, right? So imagine how far he's already driven.
Exact answer. And the number of people on the streets in Oakland's nearly doubled in the last 2 years alone. A lot of that has to do with the high cost of living in the Bay Area. Apartments that were once $1,000 a month now cost closer to $3,000 a month. A lot of the homeless are addicts, but there's no real one reason homelessness is so high in Oakland. If you ask 10 homeless people why they live on the streets, you're going to get 10 different answers.
I should pause. So that's his assessment, but he actually does interview some people here in this video. And I'll put the video in the chat so you can check it out. And so he learned that all of them aren't addicts, right? Many folks have a preconceived notion of people that are homeless. And again, the question is this: when did they become addicts? I think that actually matters. Did they lose their home during the '08 crisis? Did they have a health issue that they couldn't recover from because the healthcare industry took all their money and their medications and everything else broke them? And they went from paying rent or living in their home to losing that, to staying in their car, staying with friends. And once that gets old, to the point where maybe they're at a mission or a Salvation Army, the point where they're actually on the street. and the mental health is deteriorating rapidly. And the only way to cope day in and day out is a drink or smoke or a needle or whatever. So, what was the catalyst? Was it someone that was hanging out with friends or at a party and it's like, hey, we're just smoking weed. It's all good. Try this. Okay. And now they're hooked on something else and didn't even know what the hell happened. It's like pregnancy, right? There's thousands of stories of people that, well, we just had the sex one time and they were pregnant. I just tried the cocaine or the heroin or the meth one time and I was addicted. They didn't have a chance. Should that one decision be a death sentence? So we see them. Is that their story? Because it could have been. Were they dealing with some trauma from home? Were they sexually or physically abused? With no resources, no outlet, no help. I think about many of us who are functional alcoholics that bottle of wine every day. You can wake up in the morning and do everything that you got to do, but you might not be a pleasant person without that bottle of wine every night, bottle and a half. You might not be that pleasant person if you didn't have that marijuana all the time. And for whatever reason, you're able to get up the next day and function and do what you have to do. But everyone can't, unfortunately. And because of the healthcare that exists in this country is as it is, well, I mean, we just had Dr. Yaw on, right? Mental health, physical health, all these things are lacking. You're looking around to a society that doesn't care, that's fighting against each other, and you just don't want to deal with it. Or you want something to not make it as bad as it is. You're just trying to get through. And it gets out of hand, it gets out of control. And this is where you're at. And you can't figure out how to dig yourself out. And all these systems are broken. All these institutions are don't function. And so the percentage of people that make it out are so small that it can't keep up with more and more people sinking. I think of how we deal with problems in this country. COVID hit hard. We had to shut down the schools. Everybody gets a Chromebook. Federal government turned into Oprah. You get a Chromebook. You get a Chromebook. You get a Chromebook. But they knew, our psychologists, they knew that the social distancing, the isolation, we heard the numbers, right? Divorces were up, domestic violence were up, sexual assault was up, child abuse was up. We saw it, and this was before everything opened back up. And then when it opened back up, well, the, the country's crazy. Folks are fighting on planes. Folks is fighting over not wearing a mask. They slapping people. They spitting on people. I mean, the women, right? Well, women are definitely going crazy. Here's a free vaccine. How about some free mental health? I'm not going to die from COVID, but I'm crazy as all hell now. I'm angry and I don't have the tools or the skills to navigate this pandemic and poverty and the issues and everything all piled on top of me. The fact that I can't afford my medication, the fact that I'm sick. and I'm hurting physically and mentally.
Answers. Look at this one in West Oakland. This one is sort of sanctioned by the city, meaning they don't run them off. Sometimes it's easier to keep them in one place so they can monitor them and provide support. But this problem's impacting the community in a big way. Local businesses complain about losing customers. I mean, would you want to park near here to shop? Residents complain about homeless people stealing from them. Neighbors complain about loud noise and trash. Some say helping the homeless is backfiring. And the Oakland police are already stretched thin because of low numbers. There's many reasons for that: vaccine mandates, early retirements, and being defunded. Now, I spent 2 days driving around Oakland looking at how run down this once proud city's become. And along the way, I recorded all the homeless camps I saw. But there was one particular homeless camp that I stumbled onto, which put into perspective the state of homelessness here in Oakland and actually changed my perspective on the homeless problem in general. So I was driving around on the west side of town. I came across a huge makeshift camp made up of RVs and improvised shelters, something that looked like what you would see in a third world country. It was under a freeway overpass across the street from a public park, in an abandoned area of former warehouses that people had used to dump their crap for years. As I learned, the RVs parked here were actually the working poor, people who had decent jobs but still couldn't afford a place to live in Oakland. Some are even...
Pause. These folks are working. It doesn't matter how much they work, they will never ever be able to afford first last deposit and maintain monthly rent. So what do we have in this county? What do we have in cities across the nation? We have builders that come from out of state typically. They're given tax breaks and incentives to build. And they'll build, 100 units, let's say. Let's keep the numbers nice and round. And for their tax credits and the fact that they're willing to build, they're going to make 20% of those affordable housing. 20 out of the 100 are going to be affordable. So does that fix the problem? Well, no, because it's already going to take 2.5 years to build anyway. So those 20 units aren't even going to be available till 2023. And then when they are, well, that's 20 people. How many more people will have become homeless by that time? We're not actually addressing the issue. Shout out to Mark yesterday, and he had made a comment, and I think it was centered around the reason why we're in the situation we are. It's a lack of humanity. I'm summarizing. And the fact that all of the things that are problems that we need solutions to are all steeped around capitalism and people making money off of each other, right? It's like, well, yeah, I mean, that's pretty fair. Let's continue.
Doctors who were new to the city and had to save up enough money to afford a down payment on their first apartments. But many of the people outside of the homeless RV park were people who had been here for a long time. Some were trying to save money to change their situation. Despite the way it looks from the street, this camp was well organized. There's even leaders here who enforce rules, and there's even camp security. It's a camp with community and pride and progress. And as I learned, a lot of the people in this camp are actually trying to make this temporary homeless camp their permanent home. Their goal is to get Caltrans to donate the land to a nonprofit they had set up so they could raise money to build a permanent village of tiny homes where they would then live. So they were squatting here until they could get agencies to help them with their goals. As they would explain to me, they'd be getting a job and a house at the same time, since their jobs would be building their new homes. And then after their village was built, their jobs would be managing their village. They're serious about it.
So that's, one way to try to address the issue. But this is Oakland. This isn't, when they show news stories, usually it's like, oh, it's San Francisco, Seattle, downtown Seattle. You see that a lot. This is a huge issue. Here's one for San Francisco. Here's one for Seattle's Green Lake. Let's play this one. This was 5 hours ago. This is today.
I'm Sean Reynolds from the Seattle Real Estate Podcast. We're on site at Green Lake and Woodlawn Park. We've got a pretty good sized homeless encampment here that's services are being reached out to the campers. There's going to be a sweep at some point in time, maybe the next few weeks. We're taking a look around, seeing what's going on. I recently visited Green Lake and Woodlawn Parks. For those of you who don't know, they're two of Seattle's most popular parks, known for their outdoor recreational activities. However, recently, there's been a lot of controversy over the homeless encampments that have taken over large swaths of the parks. So today I want to share with you some of the footage we captured last week at these parks before the camps are potentially swept and moved to another location.
When I was younger, I used to paddle boat out there, play basketball, ice cream. Yeah, it was a pretty cool park.
Many have steered clear of certain parts of the park as homeless encampments have taken over. Most notably in the news, the mayor banned cross-country meets in Lower Woodland Park. With the area being widely considered a mecca for running, thousands of cross-country runners and kids were affected. Along with this news, there's been sporadic crime, from shootings to robbery to a jogger finding a woman's body in a Green Lake alley. I find it surprising, though, how many people still continue their daily routine, whether running or walking through the park, as if nothing has changed. In a way, this might point to Seattle's growing acceptance of dangerous streets and homeless encampments in public spaces, more so than kids safely meeting for sports. In addition to tents, I saw an area full of RVs, and to be honest, both areas were surprisingly well taken care of. One RV resident was even blowing leaves with his leaf blower. It almost looked like a regular camping site, just people who overextended their stay just a little bit. For context, in Seattle, there's a huge RV population in addition to people living in tents. For those who can get their hands on them, the RVs offer better privacy and security than that of a tent. When I walked through the homeless encampments myself, I did notice an ironic sense of hostility. Between Green Lake and Woodlawn Park were over 100 tents strewn across public property, many with signs warning against trespassing. I even encountered agitation from the campers for walking around with my camera in the public park. By the time you reach the northern portion of Woodlawn Park, it's not even integrated among park goers anymore. It's completely the homeless residents' territory. What is special about the case of homeless encampments in Green Lake and Woodlawn Parks is they show even Seattle's most beloved hubs for outdoor activity, much of what the city is celebrated for, are not off limits to its homeless crisis. This crisis has no boundaries and can pop up anywhere in the city. With sweeps reported to come shortly, it'll be interesting to see where the homeless encampments pop up next.
Why I wanted to play that particular video is, again, that's close, right? That's Seattle. And clearly, he has an issue with the homeless in the park, right? And it sounds like his priority is, and his group is centered around, hey, this used to be a place for runners and kids, and, you know, the place for those that have what they need to have their recreation. So what do you do with the homeless population? Where do they go? You don't want them under the bridge on the freeway. You don't want big camps. You don't want them in the churches, in their parking lots. You don't want them in the parks. What do we do? Oh, we don't want folks here because it's going to impact our housing value. It's going to drop down the value of the neighborhood. There's countless videos of folks speaking just like that, right? I feel for the homeless population, and everyone should have a place to live that wants one, but just not here. And I don't have the answers, but not here. They can't be here. So if you don't care enough, that is going to be the outcome. And unfortunately, the reason why you feel like it's overrun, the reason why we didn't see it is because when it was just 200 and they were spread out sporadically and there was just one tent there and the police can come and say, get out of here, and they're gone. Now there's so many. The population is too large. It's too big. And what are you going to do? Are you going to put them up temporarily for 3 months? Is that enough? Get them cleaned up, get them some clothes, go get them a job somewhere, maybe a Walmart greeter. I'm being stereotypical because they have no knowledge, skills, or abilities. Is that going to help them to become self-sufficient? Are they going to be able to afford a place? Any place? Do you want them to work 80 hours a week? Will that be enough? Well, we know minimum wage still across the country isn't $15 an hour. But just for giggles, let's say, I don't know, somehow they ended up getting two $15 an hour jobs for 40 hours a week, and they were working 80 hours a week. Well, 2,000 hours multiplied by 30 would be 60 grand. So they're pulling down 60,000, multiply that by 0.8, they're bringing home about 56,000. Of course, they're working 80 hours a week. So they're probably sleeping 3 because they got to get back and forth from each job. Is that realistic? I just don't feel like the things that we're doing are actually designed to solve the problem. And we can show we spend probably into the billions on homelessness in this country. Definitely high millions, right? Hundreds of millions of dollars. You know, be fair to say 50 million per state. Too low, too high. So we seem to be dancing all around it, right? There was a term that they have for like a social service racket, right? Where you get into these systems and there really is no out of these systems. Either you age out or you're kicked out. But a lot of times you're just stuck once you get in there. Right. And of course, we're having an intellectually honest conversation. So I never mean all. A high majority. But what you're in. And you're working so hard. How do you pull yourself out? I just had this conversation the other day. It's like, look, there's a job paying $18 an hour. And this person has children, single parent. And right now, the state is paying housing, childcare, food, medical. And even with that $18 an hour job, it is not going to be enough to replace all the things that they have. But of course, because of federal poverty levels, as soon as they take that job, it's going to put them over a threshold where it's going to start reducing the things that they have. So first off, that's a de-incentive to go to work in the first place. But most of these programs are all centered around, well, you need to be working toward employment. And then we pit each other against each other, right? Hey, there's no workers because we did the unemployment for an extended amount of time and we raised it up. And we gave out stimulus checks. And now that that's off, people don't want to go back to work to the crappy jobs that they were working before for the super long hours. Thank you, sir. I have another. So even when they raised their wages, oh, you were getting $12 an hour at McDonald's. Now they're willing to give you $15 and a $500 signing bonus. Whoop dee doo, la dee da. I mean, let's say you got that $3 an hour raise. Again, full time, not missing any time. You work 2,000 hours per year. Times that by $3. 3 times 2,000 is $6,000. You made an extra $500 a month. Oh, times that by 0.8, you made an extra $400 a month. I think it's safe to say that if the difference in folks being resilient and being okay was 400, we really wouldn't have problems in this country. But it's so much more than just $400. Somehow we don't see it that way, right? It's like, hey, well, they're giving you a $2 raise. You should be fine, right? Well, aren't you looking at inflation? Aren't you looking at gas prices? Aren't you looking at meat prices? Are you able to get a turkey this year? What's in your wallet? It ain't money, and it damn sure ain't plastic. See, we know this on some level, but we don't talk about it in the places where it actually means something to where change can happen. It's why we do need to get involved in politics and sit on committees. Regular folk. Because we understand the issues, we understand the struggle. We understand that it's not enough. 2 of me is not enough. 2.5 of me is not enough. And I'm exhausted. Just, do you work to live or do you live to work? I live to work. That's the plight of most people. Now, this is going to trigger folks, but it kind of sounds like slavery, right? I wake up every day. I go work some crappy ass job just to exist. Not to thrive and move ahead. And again, you could talk about choices and decisions that people make. But everybody can't be Bill Gates. Everybody can't be Dr. Yaw. Everybody can't be Brandon. But we're not having the real conversations that need to be had to actually change the situation that we are in this country. Richest country in the world. I think of globalization. I think of how we get so much our dependency upon China. And in the Trump era, you go back to Obama because we're talking about recent history, right? Made in America. We need to work and focus more on that. But, you got to pay Americans so much to make the same product that the Chinese or other countries will make for pennies on the dollar. And when you think about it, it's unfortunate because in some ways it's exactly what we deserve. The problem is that the ones that pay for it aren't the ones that are making the decision to do it. But we're all caught up in consumerism. So hell no, I don't want to pay triple for the same thing. That's why Walmart is so popular. But we've got to find some way to create jobs. We've got to find some ways to have things for people to do that does have dignity. And it's not a talking point of, oh, well, people need to work and that gives them dignity. Well, it depends on the damn job. I'm not going to feel dignified flipping burgers at Burger King. Sorry. And those jobs used to be jobs for kids, right? When I taught at the college, the requirement was that you have a master's degree. And there was an argument during that time on making advisors tenured faculty because they taught courses. And again, you needed to have a master's degree. So with the master's degree, the wage let's see, I started there in 2012. So 2015, maybe 2016, $19.75 an hour. But you had to have a master's degree. And then to teach as an adjunct, you didn't get much more than that. And what they said was, well, adjuncts historically, that's just kind of moonlighting. That's just something that you did in your twilight. You're retired and you just want to kind of give back and make a little extra money. And that would be their reason for not paying a livable wage when oftentimes non-tenured were working harder than tenured people, right? Say you become tenured and you'd have to murder someone to lose your job. Yeah, that's kind of true. So that was the argument that they made. That's literally the argument that they made. Well, it doesn't pay because these weren't designed for people to live off of. But that's what people are doing now. You know how many faculty at Olympic College apply for food stamps in between the quarters or during summer? Hell, you see them. You see how they're dressed. They're not balling out of control. Folks is struggling up there. And it's at will. You might not get another contract the next quarter. Well, you chose that field. You should have did something else. Well, damn. You told the person that just graduated high school and got the GED they should have did something else. They shouldn't be at McDonald's. So they go to school and they get their associate degree or they get their bachelor degree and you tell them, well, you shouldn't have picked that field. You should have picked a master's degree and you should go over here. Okay. Well, you got the master's degree and it's like, how would you, what name could I put on your Starbucks cup, ma'am? What? But tuition is through the roof and it's been through the roof for decades. We're just now waking up to it's a problem that the return on investment doesn't make any sense, that people are being steered into careers that don't really help them or society. Getting rid of vocational programs is horrible. And you can weld and plumb or be an electrician, be a bricklayer, see all those things, those skills, be an auto mechanic. You'll always have work. Work that people really need. When are we going to address what the actual issues are? How long will we continue to play the game we're not even putting Band-Aids on gunshot wounds now. We're not even pretending. Like, hey, here's a Q-tip, try that. I say, hey, you know what? Bleed, but don't bleed on my bridge. Don't bleed in my park. Your blood is causing my property value to drop. I feel bad that you're bleeding, but you can't bleed here. You need to go and die quietly somewhere else. And preferably downwind so we don't have to smell it. Thank you. That's why I say power is taken, it's not given. We got to do something else. We all know it. Just when are we going to? Who's brave enough? Who has the audacity, the unmitigated gall to say, nah, we ain't doing this no more? I'm going to get in your committee. I'm going to rally people to me. We're going to make some changes. And things are going to be different. The question is most of us don't live behind gated communities, and we're one disaster away from anarchy, which, some would say we're in anarchy now. Even back in the slave days, people would ask, right, today, because they don't understand, right? How could one slave master and maybe a couple other people control 50, 80, 120, 200 slaves? Why didn't they just revolt and just kill the slave owner and his family? Well, they have to destroy you and demoralize you and make you feel like there's no hope. They have to brutalize you. So these things are happening today. And it's how the few can control the many. And folks are living in such deplorable conditions. Where people vote against their own interest. Where folks that aren't lower than someone else at least look and say, well, I'm not them. And they're saying that and they're steadily sinking down. I'm not them. I'm not them. I'm not them. And then they're them. At some point, there's going to be too many them with nothing to lose. We've got to start caring in a different way. We have to start caring about different things. Property values, whose fault it was. Serves no purpose. There's so many videos on Facebook that show homelessness. There was another one that I was going to show, and it's one that's in Philly. And the gentleman is driving, and he's showing the drug addiction. I think it's like labeled zombies or something like that. And people are just full blown in their drug use. And you're seeing all this unnatural body movement or just finding them in different states of being inebriated. And it's scary and it's sad. Laid out on the street, barely breathing, very shallow. I don't even know where they're at. No shoes on. Just, women in their most vulnerable state. They're not even there. And he's filming this for 5, 10, 15 minutes. It's horrifying to watch. And we think about, oh, this must be some third world country, or this must be, it's like, no, this is Anytown, USA. In little old Kitsap County, little old Bremerton, little old Paulsbo, little old Port Orchard, little old Silverdale. Are starting to look like big old Seattle and big old Oakland and big old San Francisco and big old. Got to do something else, folks. Submit your ideas. Let's have a discussion. But get involved. Take your power. Take your power. Start sitting on these committees. Start making your voice heard. At this point, no such thing as a bad idea, because the crap they're doing right now don't work. So can it be any worse than what the hell's being done now? And it clearly ain't a money thing, because they're spending billions as it is. Take care of yourself. It's 42 degrees and it's only 6:41 p.m. Means it's going to get cold tonight. Every one of us aren't going to have warmth. Some of us are going to be in cars. Some of us don't have heat or blankets. Some of us are in doorways. Some of us are in parks. Some of us are in shelters on a mat next to someone. That's about this thick. The jail mat is thicker. Well, I have made it through my day. 4 live podcasts. Give myself a self high five for making it. I will be back tomorrow, Lord willing, because I am blessed and highly favored. I am Marwan Kayin Akil Cameron. Won't stop, don't stop. All right, y'all. I appreciate you being with me. Till next time.